to the Sprint 3 demo of Boston Apartments project under course SER 517 Software Factory being taken by Professor Findler. This is Amit Sharma from the team Amit Squared, and for Sprint 3, our main goal was to cover several user stories which were identical and identified from our previous sprint. And apart from this, there are a couple of new user stories that was found and created in our sprint review and planning meeting with our sponsor Eric. The team was successfully able to achieve 100% of the work in this sprint 3. To explain what all was achieved, let me just go to a running application and it can be seen more clearly. First user story for this sprint was to fix the persistence issue in the client preferences menu. This story has been a spillover from the previous sprint in which we left off a few fields and we covered all of the fields in this sprint. So basically the issue here was that initially for simple text fields, this issue was fixed and the data was being persisted for various sessions. But in this sprint, I worked on saving not only the text fields, but as well as the drop-down fields and some of the other fields such as radio buttons and some other large text fields which were not getting saved. So now if the user clicks on any of the fields and changes its, let's say you change default view for editing and composing listing ads from full to simple, and you say change a couple of more fields and just save it. And if you view them again, then as it can be seen, these are updated and live being taken from the database. So this was a user story that was a spillover from the previous sprint, and I worked on debugging and fixing this issue and making it available on the front end as well as the back end. Apart from this user story, there are a couple of other user stories that were taken up this sprint. First of which involves the scrollable fields inside the client menu. So inside our client's menu, there were a few data fields which had a lot of data, and basically they were taking up a lot of space for each and every row. So one such field can be seen here. So in this sprint, we took up the work of making it a scrollable field so that a lot of space is not occupied for one single row. And this field now has this scrollable field here inside. So whenever a user wants to see all of the data, they just have to scroll through it and not scroll the whole page for viewing the entire row. So this was another user story which was based a little bit on the UI side and somewhat on the backend, which we took up in the sprint 3. Apart from this, a last user story was the intelligent option menu. So for that, uh, whenever the admin went in the admin menu and went inside the manage rental application and additional syndication sites, there was this intelligent menu option, which basically is a third party that works with bostonapartments.com. So this menu was not being displayed properly and it was basically a faulty functionality. With this upgrade in our new sprint task, this menu works perfectly fine. And the admin can specify whether they want internet system for credit checks or yes or no. And they can then save the respective settings. This used to crash before in the previous versions, but it has been fixed in this sprint. And one last feature that we took up this sprint was a cron job emailing functionality, in which basically emails were sent out to the person who have subscribed to the ad listing for any of the apartments. So that was basically a Chrome extension which required more of a learning curve and more exploration. So that was also taken up the sprint and fixed accordingly. So apart from all of the stories, to be able to get to this state and several we required to do several readings and several tasks were performed which are all logged inside the log file and research document which is posted on the Google Drive. An overview of the tasks performed by all the team members are as follows. So in this sprint, Amit Sharma, that is me, I worked on user preferences, leftover tasks. So I did analysis of what all was left from the previous sprint and which fields were typically different from what was already done, and basically what was the issue in those fields. I did a run through the tab of the fields and the bug category that was being thrown for each and every field. I fixed the persistence problems for the fields on the front end. There was another index.php issue that was on the development server, which basically crashed the site whenever someone tried to access it. So there was a few things that needed to be changed on the live server, which I worked on. Apart from that, I fixed the persistence of these remaining fields on the backend. And apart from all the development activities, I did testing of the functionality on the front end and the back end, and I reviewed code of my peers for merging the code to main for our final release. Vinay in our team worked on the code review of the bugs to be fixed in the client's page, basically the scrollable field that we saw. He reviewed the plugin of the Chrome extension to populate Craigslist. He worked on the UI updates of the client page table components. Apart from that, he also worked on the location field data scrollable on the client's page that I just showed in the demo. Also, apart from that, he worked on the bets field data scrollable on the client's page. So basically, there were two fields in which I showed the scrollable feature. So in that, Vinay was involved. Suraj in our team worked on the internet UI that I showed towards the end of the demo, basically, which was the integration with the third party. He fixed the status redirection issue, which was the issue being faced on the client page when on changing the status, the page would not redirect. And he also fixed the admin who was unable to delete anything inside the admin menu. Bhavna in our team worked on adding the up and down arrow image on every field in the client page. So basically, that is the UI feature that we saw inside our scrollable fields. The scrollable field was added by Bhavna. She added the descending order to the required fields so that it accommodates with the new updated feature. She checked the mail functionality whenever we create a new client. So this was related to the Chrome extension that I talked about before. She also worked on hiding the menu functionality in the listing page. Amit Pandey in this sprint worked on reviewing the bugs to be fixed. He also worked on studying about the Chrome extension. He and Vinay had a meeting with our sponsor mid-sprint for more information about the internal functionality of the extension that is basically the Chrome extension which works along parallelly with Craigslist. And also he debugged and logged information on the Chrome extension. So these are all of the team members in my team and what all work they performed. Apart from that, we were able to achieve all of the tasks in this sprint, and the same can be viewed in Tiger. So this is our sprint 3 for Boston Apartments upgrade. So as it can be seen, it was 100% coverage with all of these tasks achieved on time. These were our backlogs, which are all in the closed state currently. We faced a couple of issues this sprint, which luckily we all were able to complete through. And there were a couple of user stories as well, one of them being a spillover from the last sprint. So that was an overview of the sprint 3 and the demo of what all we achieved. Thank you for listening, and if there are any questions, please let us know.